So the idea of so EQing is a weird thing in general, right? It's a very, very weird thing in general. So I don't... let me try to explain this, right? Let me try to explain this. When you EQ something, generally speaking, a lot of people think of EQing as like, how do I fit something into a mix? But you never want to be fitting something into a mix. It's more that like your mix wants space for something, right? And I think that's where you really want to diverge from the regular thought of like EQing, because you are not boosting or cutting. It's like, how do I make space? And what parts of something do I want to hear, right? So let's get a quick example, if we could, right? Let's hop over to Zero G Jungle Frenzy. I think it's number 2, Warfare Volume 1. Yeah, breaks at 162, right? Okay, so these are all 162 BPM, which makes it nice and easy. So when I EQ something, it's for one of two reasons, right? It's for clarity, and I don't mean clarity as in I can hear it, as in so much I can feel it, which is about exaggerating its current characteristics, or it's about like what parts of it do I want, right? So let's look for a drum break. So this one's a great example, actually, right? So let's loop that, because I don't want the drum break, right? So I see EQing as more of kind of like a carving utility. And that's what I want out of it, right? And then I can distort it to make sure it's like nice and clipped. And now, so I know what parts I'm looking for. So that was a very subtractive technique, right? And I can do other stuff too, like right, and then we can layer that when we feel it's necessary, which might be over here. Where the fuck is it pasting that? Is it actually pasting that with the correct, like, wow, dude, what a smart program. This was fucking like the mid-90s, right? That's crazy. So it's like, you can multiple tracks it. This air noise / sound is there at all times, no matter what you try to do. I see what you mean. Yeah, so you might want to consider, so this is like the big thing with like EQing, right? I think a lot of electronic music production is centered around the idea of like EQ as a way of fixing things. And like it can fix certain components of what you're doing, right? But ultimately, I think EQ is more of a sculpting tool for your mix. So it's about the input more than the output. So it's about thinking about like how much air is in the thing that I'm actually putting in, right? So if I'm like looking at, let me try to like fabricate an example. Give me a second, if that's okay. So like when I think like air in this, I would think like a really bright, like super saw sound that might have too much treble. And so how you avoid that kind of thing is by using darker sounds to begin with. I try to do this thing where it's like, if I know the general trajectory of what I'm working on, I try to use brighter or darker sounds instead of like fitting an arbitrary sound into what I'm doing. So this is like this is very, very, very dark. Like there's no avoiding that, right? So I'm not going to think about bright sounds even at all anymore at this point. And I think the issue is that like a lot of music production, it's like you end up adding bright sound on top of bright sound on top of bright sound. But right now I'm thinking like I have so much high frequency content that I want something with a darker sound like pushing into it, if that makes any sense at all. If you think about... I'm going to explain something a little abstract, and I think the abstraction is important. But if you close your eyes and you imagine like a scale where all of your sounds are on the like dark side to the bright side. The dark side is like bass, the bright side is treble, of course, right? When you add more to your dark side, it becomes more difficult to balance your bright, right? And vice versa. Oh, take care, Steph, and thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is a little hard to describe. But we have to think in terms of, like, this is a very fundamental idea. Okay, this is an A. So I'm just gonna write some A notes. A. Cool, we're good. No. So I'm trying to do two things at once here. I'm trying to like progress this and like answer your question at the same time. I guess like, okay, let's talk less about this, like what I'm doing, right? And let's talk more about what you're doing. You say if you EQ multiple tracks, it's just like a white noise, right? What kinds of tracks are you bringing in where it turns that way, right? Let's talk about that. I'd rather talk about that than like share my example, because my example is geared towards like I know exactly like what I'm thinking, right? And that's not helpful for you. I want to explore your example. Like what kinds of sounds are you bringing in, and what kinds of don't like the hats, so you try to move those. Yeah, so that's a tricky thing, right? Because when you remove the hats, I could show you something. Actually, you hear how this kick drum has like, it's punchy, right? But the interesting thing, so I want to talk to you about the idea of like frequency response. I think this is going to tie in directly to what you're talking about. Because you're going to have a lot of sounds where you're dealing with a lot of like very complex frequency response, right? Fucking click this, do that, gold wave, okay. So check, this isn't shareware. Did I not register this? I did register this, but that's okay. Doesn't matter, whatever. Okay, so here's our sound, right? And in our head, we feel like this is a pretty bassy sound, right? Do we all agree in chat that this, like, aside from the hi-hat, it's a pretty bassy sound? Right? It's got a bassy punch, right? So we want to get rid of the hi-hats. But the crazy thing is when we get rid of the hi-hats, right? A crazy thing happens where all of the bassy punch removes, because the bassy punch isn't actually a bassy punch. So, cool thing about frequency response, right, is do you see how quickly this moves from like nothing to like near infinity, like very, very quickly? Like, these are very fast ramps, right? And these aren't bass, these are high frequency responses. So kick drums have a lot of high frequency response. So if you try to filter them out or add back in a lot of sound, you're going to deal with like trying to cope with the loss/gain of high frequency response, right? As an example, so we might hear like, oh, the punch is like here. Or we might hear like the punch is like, I'm gonna have to keep resetting this, like here. I think it's kind of there. And that was like the 7 band, which is at like 2000 hertz. Like that's where the punch is, right? So when you deal with a kind of, what do you want to say? A compiled percussion piece where it's like a drum break or something like that, you have 2 choices. One is just use the thing as it is, and the other is like really narrowly filter it and like pick out a specific element. That's what I was doing over here actually when I was looking at this. Not this one, sorry. It was down here, Explorer 162. As opposed to, right, that's no good, but this is. So you're picking an element, and that's going to be your jumping off point. Because if you're going to use a whole break or a whole drum loop or something, it's going to take a lot more work, and you might as well be making it from scratch yourself, which is why I made this part. Like I made that part in FL Studio using a 909 kick, right? The other parts, I'm really like filtering down into a specific component. But then after I do that, as an example, I have more freedom. So I'm just gonna loop this part, right? So I EQ it, then I distort it, and then I can EQ it some more after that. And it's like, it's bright, but it's not noise. Because noise, I think, is something we experience as the abstract concept of cross modulation. So cross modulation, I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent as usual. Cross modulation is like 2 frequencies that exist in a waveform. So say a low frequency and a high frequency. And let's go to gold wave again, because we can make this, okay? This is going to be 1 second long, okay? And we're going to run the effects calculator, expression evaluator, right? And we are going to run, wait, where's the light? Oh yeah, okay. Waves, and we're going to run sine at, let's say 100 hertz. Let's say 60 hertz. Oh, 600, I guess. Oops. So that's the loudest sound you've ever heard, right? Okay. So, okay, this is a sine wave. We're going to pitch it down. I didn't actually pitch it down. Hold on. And we're going to keep going. And keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, that's great. So, we have our sound, and here's the joy of it, right? This sound, right? We make a new sound, and we're going to run the expression evaluator again, and we're going to generate noise, and it's going to be white noise. And this is also the loudest sound you've ever heard in your life, so I'm going to turn it down. Right? But we're going to copy paste. So, when you have these sounds together, it's a lot harder to EQ because you experience cross-modulation, which is to say, stuff like this. So you can hear how like that bass sound is like cutting into the noise, right? And it creates this like, it's a distorted sound. That's the fundamental idea, right? But when you're working with a compiled piece, you are coping with the fact that all of those frequencies exist in the initial work. So the general workflow is EQ, then you compress or distort or filter or etc., and then you EQ again, and you're going to get an output that's like pretty useful. And that's only if you're looking for a specific element. If you're not looking for a specific element, it's like kind of like a free-for-all. Yeah. I'm gonna do this, by the way. Hold on. That's so stupid. Just gonna save that because it sounds good. It sounds good. What was it called? There it is. Track properties. We actually need to put this down here so don't lose it. That's not what I wanted. Could it go attached to like this one? It can, okay. Which one's this? I'm just fucking around now. This is fun. That's terrible. That's fucking awesome. It's so stupid. Okay.